So the holiday season is rapidly approaching. There's a new OLED Switch out. There's a beautiful new Palkia and Dialga Switch Lite as well, and you're debating which one to get to give as a gift to someone else or to give to yourself. Because let's face it, everyone needs to treat themselves once in a while, right? I mean, you got some really good stuff out there too. With the new OLED Switch out and that beautiful new Palkia and Dialga Switch Lite, which I don't personally have at the moment, deciding on the right Nintendo Switch has never been more difficult. Do you need to play games on the TV? Do you need removable Joy-Con? Do you just want the lightest, most portable console to game on? There are a lot of questions that go through your mind when you're thinking about buying something, and that goes for the Switch as well. So my goal today is to hopefully make your decision even easier. A few weeks ago, I compared all three Nintendo Switch models available this holiday side by side in a short video to help you find the right console. My verdict ultimately boiled things down to just two, the Nintendo Switch Lite and the new OLED Switch. With the OLED Switch being the better deal over the original Switch, it's tough for me to recommend buying the original Switch if you don't already have one. Both the V2 Switch and the OLED Switch are so close in price that it's easy for me to rule one out right off the bat. That leaves us with both the Switch Lite and the new OLED Switch. It is worth mentioning that I am currently using both these Switches in my current Switch setup. They both have 512GB micro SD cards and they both have an entirely digital game collection, and they work great together. If you're thinking about buying both these consoles, you're gonna have no issue using them side by side. I have my OLED Switch docked to the TV most of the time, and I take my Switch Lite with me out and about in my bag. It's the grab and go console that, you know, I don't really worry much about. I just have it with me all of the time for whenever I feel like playing it. So what are the differences between the two? Well, they're totally different, and that's what makes them worth comparing. The OLED Switch is very much the same as the original Switch in that it's a hybrid of a handheld and a home console, whereas the Switch Lite is strictly a handheld console. The OLED Switch builds upon what made the original Switch hardware so great, with an upgraded display, new kickstand around back, louder built-in speakers, and an Ethernet port on the dock. Most of these new upgrades are best enjoyed in handheld mode. Nothing really changed when the OLED Switch is docked to the TV. That's why if you have the original Switch and you primarily play in docked mode, I don't know that it's really worth upgrading to this new model. Compared to all the other Switch models though, the OLED Switch easily looks the part of the high-end model that it's meant to be. It's one gorgeous looking console. On the flip side, you have the handheld only Switch Lite, and if you've been following along here on the channel, you know that the Switch Lite has always been my favorite Switch model. It's the perfect grab and go console that you can always have with you to game whenever you want. I know, you're probably asking yourself, Ray, why would anyone want the Switch Lite when the OLED Switch exists? And while I do agree with you to a certain extent, there is a place in the lineup for the Switch Lite. It's about half the price, has the same internal specs, plays the same games, and is incredibly thin and lightweight. It's a basic Switch that gives you access to the incredible library of Switch games. The key thing to note here are those internal specs. The Switch Lite is about half the price and it plays games exactly the same as that high-end OLED Switch. Sure, they don't look as pretty because there's no OLED display here, but performance behind the scenes is exactly the same and the games still look good. The display is really no slouch either. It's sharp, vibrant, and colorful. At the end of the day, if you want Nintendo's best of the best Switch, there is no doubt in my mind that you should definitely spring for the OLED Switch. It's the superior console of the two tech-wise, and it's just one of those things that just wows you as soon as you take it out of the box thanks to that beautiful OLED display. On the other hand, if the smallest, lightest, and most portable Switch is what you're after, then the Switch Lite is going to be the perfect one for you. In terms of portability, it's the superior handheld console. It might have a smaller display and all of that, but as mentioned before, it's the perfect little grab-and-go console that plays games exactly the same as the high-end model. It's incredibly underrated, and in my opinion, it's much more comfortable to hold in your hands, but that's just me. It is all personal preference in the end. Before you buy, you do need to decide what you plan to do with your Switch. Will you mostly be playing out on the go, in handheld mode, docked to the TV? If you can answer those questions, it should make choosing a Switch much easier. Either way you decide to go though, you really can't go wrong because in the end, you get access to the incredible library of Switch games, and that in itself, it's a win for anyone. Anywho, that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did and you liked what you saw, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button because it always helps out the channel. Also, don't forget to follow Raymond Strazdas on Twitter and Instagram for much more. Until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Peace!